Welcome to the Astro Q&A, which is what we do when we haven't translated Paul Deepika. So, the idea is to answer as many questions as possible. So I'll try to give short answers. I'm trying to aim for under 2 minutes per answer. So Chillin asks, can you tell me about Vargotam, Rahu, and Ketu? Chillin, what does Vargotam mean? What does Rahu mean? What does Ketu mean? If you understand those things, then you answer your question better than I will. So my answer to your question is to understand what Rahu means, understand what Ketu means, and understand what Vargotam means. Then you understand Rahu, Ketu, Vargotam. For that, you can read my book, Radically Deep Fundamentals of Astrology, or watch more videos. Thank you. And Chillin has another question. When it comes to synastry, when it comes to one's moon and another's ascendant, I have read that having the same sign is auspicious and tropical, but seeing mixed analysis and sidereal. Please let me know your thoughts. It's not tropical or sidereal, it's just different astrologers with different opinions. To have the same sign is compatible. The compatible shapes are the line, which means the same sign, and the opposite sign, the trine, the line in the trine and the half trine, in descending order of strength. But the line has caveats to its positivity. When it's the opposite sign, the caveat is that it's spicy, meaning that the reason you're attracted to the person is because it's difficult to understand the person. But it's exactly the kind of challenge. That works good. And the caveat for the line where it's the same sign is that it's a little boring. It's the opposite of the opposite thing. It's the opposite of the opposite sign. So regardless, to be in the same sign is always good. And then, again, if you know the basics, then you don't need to. You're asking questions about things that are level, let's say 3, but you should study level 1, and then you'll already get the answers to the things on level 3. Moving on, Sidereal says, sir, can you interpret Ketu, Mars, Atmakarka, and Saturn all conjunct in the 8th in Pisces? I won't. I would. I will. It's probably not your chart, though, especially when your name is Sidereal. It's too much work. I mean, to be frank with you, it's too much work to interpret this for you. In the 8th house, Pisces, then I have to figure out what lords that is. So that means Mars is the 9th lord and some other lord. It can mean a whole bunch of things, but it's probably very critical research intellect. Comedic Library asks, does understanding Jyotish have any bearing on the pursuit of attaining moksha? It helps, because then you understand. Frankly, let me tell you this, my friend, Comedic Library. If you understand anything, then it helps to attaining moksha. Just understanding anything always helps to not be ignorant, right? So understanding Jyotish gives you basically a roundabout way of understanding Sankhya Yoga, so then you can understand the classifications of things via classifying the symbolism into different signs, houses, and planets. And then you benefit from that, okay? Next question, Ronaldo. What you do for cases where some combination creates Raj Yoga and Daridra? For example, 1st Lord plus 8th, 9th Lord, or 5th Lord plus 7th, 12th. Do you write down both yogas in your report? Man, I don't remember what I do. I know about Multrikona, but I've seen you call something, even though it's not primarily Raj Yoga Lord, even when it's primarily 11th Lord. It's both the yogas. So let me see. I don't have time to answer all the questions in detail, but hopefully most people understand the question. If the 1st Lord combines with, for example, the 8th and the 9th Lord, so as would be the case when Saturn owns the 8th and 9th houses, So that would be a Gemini ascendant, right? I think. So in that case, if you get Mercury and Saturn together, then what is it, a Raj Yoga or a Dridra Yoga? Because 1 + 8 is Dridra Yoga and 1 + 9 is Raj Yoga. Why do you pick one or the other? It's both. How do you interpret both? All you have to do is go back to level 1. You guys are asking level 10 questions like you're pros, but you're not pros. So it would be both yogas. So the Dridra Yoga would have the ability to assist and impact other difficult things in the chart. The Raj Yoga would have the ability to assist and impact other positive things in the chart. And which of the two is more prominent? One of the main things is what's the Mul Trikona, whether the Mul Trikona is the 9th or the 8th house for Saturn. The other thing would be what house and conditions does it actually occur in? Does the combination actually occur in? Okay. Next question, again from Mr. Ronald. What's the difference in symbolism between ascendant and the first lord? So you're basically asking what's the difference between the first house and the first lord. So just, you could also ask what's the difference between a house and a lord. And then you have your answer. There's no difference in what they symbolize. It's just that the house is a passive symbol and the lord is an active symbol. So the house is entered by other planets, but the lord enters other places. Ronald has also asked, what house relates to problems in court and with law? But not in a sense of prison, because it must be the 12th house, obviously. What house relates to problems in court? 6. 10. Why 10? Government. Why 6? Litigations. Arguments. Any comments, thoughts on Russian coup mutiny? If you heard interested. I heard it from my dad. It's pretty interesting. That's my exciting comment on that. Oh, I just got auto-forwarded to the end. Flatlander asks, I don't think questions are disappearing. No, I think that's a good statement. It wasn't a question, sorry. Ronaldo, Flagum, hi, cool. John Colstar. Question. Seeing Avina in older videos, I assume you're a fellow musician. You think? Look at that beautiful, you have a sitar. Does Vedic tradition have concepts similar to the West music of the spheres? Does the number 22 have astrological significance? Well, can I look up music of the spheres? Music of the Spheres, Coldplay album. That's probably not what you're talking about, right? An ethereal harmony taught by the Pythagoreans to be the vibration of the celestial spheres. Not that much. So I suppose that they have various pitches or something assigned to various planets. What you want to do with this is look at the Natya Shastras. So, for example, you find a hint of it in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or if you look in Bharata Muni's Natya Shastra, you'll find rasa correlated to various vibhavs that are inanimate, various inanimate stimulants. So you'll find things like colors, types of flowers, types of trees, types of flavors associated to various emotions. And those emotions associated to various situations and types of people, etc. So then one thing you'll find in there is the various intervals or musical notes. The first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth. And so by taking that, I've not found an astrologer who wrote a book specifically describing the relationship of these inanimate vibhavs to planets. But you will find them relating planets to emotions, types of emotions like anger or laughter, etc. So you could therefore translate planet to the emotion and emotion to the sound, and then you can get a music of the spheres out of the Vedic tradition. But if you want my personal opinion as a musician, you would do better than the Pythagoreans if you just think about genres and instruments and types of instruments and ways of playing. So Atma Brahman is crying. Electromagnetic Universe says hello. Heludotch says, what do you think about Jupiter squaring the Sun? Sounds cool. And then it supports the Sun. Christopher Scruggs, if a person is born in the Aries sun sign and therefore ruled by the planet Mars, could that person be in their detriment in Libra season? Because Mars is in detriment. Let us think about this. If a person is born in the Aries sun sign, then that means that their sun will be getting that half return aspect from transiting sun when the sun is in Libra. So what that means is they're getting a difficult aspect to their sun. They're getting a debilitated aspect to their sun every, October? Every September, October, right? So yes. Atman Brahman, he says, would you do some videos on remedies for people who aren't Hindu? I do all the time, you're just not listening. Random name 2298. I recently got your House of Life report and I hate it. I'm just kidding. For clarification, the house combinations only happen if they are right next to each other? Yeah. Gaga Flow. Hey Vic, why are Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto not relevant in Vedic astrology? It's not just Vedic astrology, but it's classical astrology, in which they're not relevant. People will say the reason they're not relevant is because we didn't know about them. But this is not the reason why they're not relevant. The reason they're not relevant is because they're not in the sky. Boop! Period. End the story. Ping! Things that are not in the sky, or things that cannot be derived from things that are in the sky, are not relevant to reading the sky. Next, Anam Ali. Very nice. I like that. Anomaly. Anomaly says in a synastry chart, ascendant of one partner conjunct with the Venus of the other. What can the relationship be like? They're probably attracted to each other. Random name 2298. So 631 is one combining with 6 or only with 3? That is the sound of one hand clapping. Listen to this question. So the set 631 is one combining with 6 or only with 3? I have to go into some Zen state to answer this question. 631, it seems like an irrelevant set. I don't think you can include 1 in a set. Unless it's 1, 2, 1, 3, 6. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you're not asking the koan on, so ask it more clearly and I'll understand what you mean. R. Thank you, R, by the way, for the donation before. R asks, in your chart analysis, you mentioned Varga dignities. When it's strong, what does it mean? Is it strong in terms of reaching our soul's purpose, resolving our karmas, how happy we will be, etc.? When a planet has good dignity, then it behaves well. Just like when a child has good dignity, then they behave well. When they have bad dignity, then they act out. When you have bad dignity, you do whatever you feel like doing. Like right now, I'm just saying whatever comes into my mind because I'm not very dignified. I am a very undignified Italian New Yorker. But if I was a dignified person, I would talk very tactfully, wouldn't I? And then I would make sure I didn't hurt anybody's feelings. So planets which have high dignity are like that. They're careful. They're gentle. When a planet has a high dignity in a particular Varga, then it means that the way it operates in that area of life, which is represented by the Varga, is very gentle and careful. It tries not to break anything. Cozy ass thoughts on flat Earth. Can somebody please press the button that goes... Cozy, watch the Bhagavatam stream right now. We're talking about that. Watch the last couple of Bhagavatam streams, please. Set. Ask. How does 120 years Mahadasha cycle calculated? I.e., why 6 years Dasha to Sun, 10 years to Moon? You just asked the golden question. Nobody knows. I've even seen people say that they know the answer to the question, and then when they explain it, it doesn't explain it. There's a lot of things that people don't know. We don't know why they set it up that way. Either there was no particular reason, or nobody wrote down what the reason was, and they stopped explaining it, and we don't know anymore. And I haven't tried too hard to figure it out. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Atman, Brahman, Mercury, Atmakarak, Lord. Has anybody ever noticed that I don't use Jaimini? Nicola, hi Nicola. Nicola Candice, can you explain why you don't approve of Ernst Einamsa? Because he projects it to the equator. But I don't want to know the location of an item on the equator. I want to know the location of the item on the ecliptic. Tyler Lee says, I'm a beginner in astrology and obsessed with understanding my own chart. When or what point will be satisfied? Will I be satisfied and try to understand all this? Well, you really think I'm a fortune teller? It will be, hang on a second. The third Tuesday in August. At that point, you will be satisfied. Frankly, Tyler, you will never be satisfied because the self is the focus of life. So you'll always be wanting to know yourself more. But at some point, you'll start incorporating understanding other people into understanding yourself. And vice versa. Avanti asks, could you please differentiate the straightforwardness of Mars versus Saturn? Mars has a lot of motivation. Saturn has very little motivation. For example, what is my motivation for being so undignified? There's no motivation to it. I gain nothing from it. In fact, I probably lose. That's a very Saturnian thing. Mars, however, always has a motive in every action, always a strategy. The straightforwardness of Mars is really more confidence. Mars is highly confident. Okay? This is fun. Right? Maria Zakhareshchu. Maria Zahareshchu says, Sadhguru said, quote, astrology is there to tell you how to bond to the cycle. Spirituality is there to tell you how to escape the cycle. Do you think there is a way to break the cycle through spirituality, and how? What he's saying is that astrology is about karma, spirituality is about moksha. That's a very valid statement. But there's a thing called karma yoga, isn't there? Which is a way to engage in karma so that you achieve moksha. So do I think that there's a way to utilize astrology to achieve the goal of spirituality? Yes. And that's the short answer to my question. That's why it's fun. Anomaly says, yo, Vic. Oh, it just fast forwarded. If anybody knows if there's a setting or something that will make it stop fast forwarding, stop scrolling down the stream, then I'll be very, very indebted if you could let me know what that is. So, Anomaly, what can be the result of retrograde Jupiter in Cancer 4th house? Whoa. What can be the result of retrograde Jupiter in Cancer 4th house and Moon 12th house of Pisces? It sounds like you're asking about your chart. I hope that you have your chart correctly calculated. Tropical. What can be the result of retrograde Jupiter? You have a 412 exchange. So you feel lonely all the time, and the only way to satisfy your loneliness is from some kind of guru. Cozy, what's my opinion on Jupiter, Venus, Mars in a tight conjunction in the 11th house? Very bad, right? No, I don't know. What's my opinion about 3 dudes in a bar sitting next to each other? It depends not only on whether or not they're friends with each other, but also whether they're having a good day. So similarly, what's my opinion about Jupiter, Venus, and Mars in a tight conjunction in the 11th house? It depends on what mood they're in, what aspects they're getting, what lords they are, what sign they're in, what vargas they're in, what nakshatra they're in. It depends upon, let's say it's bad. Bad for what? It's going to be bad for things that are bad for something. For example, a badass mofo is really good for fighting, but really bad for peace negotiations. So similarly, I think you got this whole question is weird. I'm yours. If history, events, and even important historical figures... Oh my God. Okay, if history, events, and even important historical figures repeat through the different versions of the universe, well, what's the different version of the universe? That means our own little persona repeats as well? I don't know. Did I ever talk about different versions of the universe? Are there different versions of the universe? Your own little persona is a bunch of electrons that fit together in a certain way that force your consciousness through certain patterns. So has it existed before? Yeah. Does it exist even right now? Yeah. Exactly the same? No. Not exactly the same. Close, very close to the same? Yeah. How close to the same? From a meter away it would look the same. Okay. Stephanie says, greetings. Jaiman says, any insights for those born with exalted sun and moon during Akshaya Trita? Go out and conquer the world. Bros. Kirtan planet. Asterisk Siddhanta or Surya Siddhanta. Surya Siddhanta. Chinmay Bhagwat asks, the 9th or 5th lord in the 1st house, closely ascendant but debilitated. Is this like a significant person? No. Why would you even think that? You must be some basics. A lot of basics must be messed up if you would think that the 9th and the 5th lord in the 1st house is like a significant person that wants to hurt you. Okay, but they're debilitated. Both of them are debilitated. Oh, the 9th or the 5th lord in the 1st house, but debilitated. No, it's not a person that wants to hurt you. It's something that doesn't go really well and has a big impact on you. Celebrate the first super chat from R. How do I do that? I click something or I just say thank you, R. So Bhagya, I have Kalsarp Dosh in my chart. Can you please tell me what does that mean? It means all your planets are on between Rahu and Ketu. That's what it means. What's the big deal? I don't know what the big deal is. But one thing that will happen is that you will always have a significant transit. You will always have a significant transit happening. Usually. Perhaps not, actually. No, that's only if they're really spread out amongst the 180 degrees. I really don't give a damn about Kalsarp Yoga. Find somebody who really cares about Kalsarp Yoga, ask them, and the chances are they'll also sell you a ring at the same time that they explain it to you. Cozy, I noticed you have no videos on Gandanta. Do I have a take on it? It's just a basic principle. Anta means the end. Anta is a sandhi, a border between signs. Gandanta is the sandhi, or the border that's between a section. Earth, water, fire. How's it go? Fire, earth, air, water. Then repeat. In between each repeat, you have a major sandhi. That major sandhi is called Gandanta. Come. If someone has an empty 10th house and an empty 6th house, would you say it's an indication of not accomplishing much career-wise? No. And if anybody says that, they must have skipped the first day of school. Because that will be the first thing that you learn, is that it's a ridiculous way to read a chart based on what's empty. Jonathan Henkel asks, what role do functional benefics and functional malefics have, if any, in the formation of yogas like the 12 good and bad yogas from Paladipika? 12 good and bad house yogas from Paladipika are, oh my God. So he will say, if the house is influenced by good planets or its lord, then that symbolism of the house flourishes. Versus, and all the people with very questions like that just indicate that you didn't learn the basics, listen right now, because this is the kind of thing that's the basics. If the house is influenced by its own lord, then the house symbolism flourishes. Now, you will have to figure out how a planet can influence something else, and that will be your homework. That will cause you to learn about aspects, conjunctions, cusps, nodes, etc. Not nodes, cusps, etc. So if a lord and a good planet aspects a house and it flourishes, or if a bad planet aspects a house, influences a house, then it suffers. So what role do functional benefics and malefics play in this? Well, one of the definitions of bad is that it rules a bad house. So I think your question is answered then. One of the definitions of what makes it bad or good is what house it rules, combined with whether or not it's naturally good or bad, combined with its dignity and things like that. If you can't do math, you can't do astrology. You can love astrology, but you can't be a good astrologer if you can't do math, because you'll have to do things like this. You'll have to say how many points is X worth, how much is Y worth, how much is Z worth, how much are present in this chart. How bad is this planet? If you can't do math, you can't assess that. That's about 2 minutes, right? Moving on to the next question. John Cole Sitar says, what about the number 22? 22? I don't know. I'm not a numerologist. Why are you asking about 22? Stephanie King, what chart should I get next? Just digesting the complete chart and loving it. Thank you, Stephanie. I'm going to put out the Tarabala report next. And I think you should get that. Why wouldn't it be my chart if my name is Sidereal? Because you shouldn't use Sidereal Zodiac. So I'm just speculating that you probably are into Sidereal Zodiac. Mitra. Incompatibility. If one person's moon sign... Didn't we already do this? If one person's moon sign is the other person's ascendant, and vice versa, but the moon and ascendants are at a Kendra, is it good? Again, you just have to be able to do math. If you can't do math, you can't do it. If you're not willing to work with numbers, you can't do this. And therefore, just see an astrologer that can deal with math. Because what you're going to have to do is quantify the things. How good is this part? How good is that part? And how bad is this? How bad is that? And when you mix them all together, what's the sum? So if you got something like one person's moon sign is the other ascendant, and vice versa, that's hella good. Moon and ascendants are at Kendra. That's slightly bad. Slightly. So even if you can't do math, you can know hella good minus slightly bad equals really good, right? Random name. So a random name is talking about when he was saying 631. She's saying in the house DNA code, I have 6. That's available in the Houses of Life report. I have 631. I'm wondering if 1 is combining with 6. No, it's not. 6 is the main house. It's supported by 3. So it's really good for ambitions and fights and struggles and things where you have to exert force. And then 1 is supporting that context. So physical. Davis Ferguson, is there anything going on right now that would affect twin flames? There's always something going on that will affect twin flames. My God. Isn't there? I'm sure there's always something going on that's going to affect somebody. 9. How does one interpret conjunctions differently than other aspects? Not too much, except that a conjunction is always mutual. An aspect is kind of rarely mutual. Do you know what I mean by mutual? Like right now, you're looking at me, but I'm not looking at you. So that is like an aspect. That's like most aspects. But in a conjunction, you're looking at me and I'm looking at you. And in some aspects, they're mutual. We look at each other. So when only one person is looking at the other, the effect is only one way. In the case of the planets, when it's one planet is looking at the other, not through this electronic medium, but that they're exerting their influence on the other. So sometimes in aspects, you'll just get one planet influencing the other, but not back. But in conjunctions, it always comes both ways. Hi, Vic. Horyu asks, I'd like to ask you, what are the risks of reading charts to people from an astrologer's perspective? The risk is that you'll become like this guy. A very undignified, rude person. Nah, that's just that I was born this way. What's the risk? Have you ever felt tired? Like extremely tired? Have you ever felt like you don't have energy to give to your kids or your spouse or something because you just gave all your energy to somebody that you don't even know? That's what it's like to read charts for people. That's the risk. Ooh. Uh-oh. Janello says, what's your favorite sun sign placement? Moon sign placement and rising placement combination. I never thought that I should have a favorite of them. I don't really like favoritism. I like to try to figure out the good and the bad of any particular combination. But if I just try to think, like, I don't know, Sun in Leo sounds kind of cool. Let me just tell you mine. Sun, Leo, Moon, Gemini, and a Capricorn rising. That one is definitely not my favorite, but it's an interesting one. So I don't know. My answer to you is I don't have favorite combinations. Nicole Kano. You see, I'm a little boring, too. Like, I don't know why 40,000 people subscribe to this channel. Nicole Kano. I have Mars and Jupiter conjunct my midhaven in Scorpio. I have Mars and Jupiter conjunct my midhaven in Scorpio. Any suggestions on a career? An independent counselor, an independent advisor, a guide, something like that. And then in what field? Maybe we need to look more at the chart, but that's my basic idea. That's just the thing that popped in my head because you asked me on a live stream. There's certainly other possibilities, like Mars and Jupiter conjunct in Scorpio. Could also be intellectual, pertaining to research, which could be the same thing, really. Independent teacher, independent counselor, independent researcher, independent or maverick. Okay, next question. Aura Nova. If Mars is in Cancer, 6th house, does he get Neech Bung Raj Yoga when Moon is in Gemini? Make me work. Now I have to visualize the chart. If Mars is in Cancer, 6th house, does he get Neech Bung Raj Yoga when Moon is in Gemini? With Jupiter and aspected by the 7th house Saturn from Leo. My goodness. I mean, let me answer you more simply. The main way that you would get Neech Bung Raj Yoga is if it gets influenced by the planet that's exalted by Jupiter. So I think what you presented here doesn't have that. Revati asks, does the first phase of Sadesati affect parents or the self the worst? Revati, you're still, you know, people laugh at the sun sign stuff. Other people laugh at the Sadesati like that. Sadesati is meaningless. It's just a period of time in which you might have some important Saturn transits. And you actually want to look for the important Saturn transits. And the stuff about affecting parents or self is just people trying to get traffic and attention by talking about stuff like that. Dr. Gaurav Singhal, number 2, says, how do you see big real estate? I don't know what you mean by big real estate, but I think you mean making fat cash by selling land. First, I want to see fat cash indicated in the chart. If I don't see fat cash, then whether you're making money by real estate or by dentistry or by fishing, it's not going to be that much money. So first figure out what the fat cash indicators are. And then real estate in the context of fat cash. Real estate 4th house has to be involved, definitely. Definitely 4th house. And then give me some Saturn. And a little Mars. Aquarius, oh my God. Aquarius Zeta. It's Prisa. It's been a long time. Let's say I'm Ukrainian in the midst of a war having a baby. Can I see this in my chart? And what the potential effects of war? For sure. You see people born affected by war. They always have that fairly obviously marked in their chart. Then you find Mars doing something significant, something big, just disrupting the family, or etc., etc. If you're the mom, then you're having a baby during a war, then you're gonna have some heavy Mars thing going on. I don't know why people want to know these things, but I don't need to know. I just need to give you the answers. Let's see what else. I have to scroll back up. Here we go. Parisa, it's good to see you. Ask another question. Jonathan asks, Henkel asks, that is well function. Okay, that's part of his previous question. Within thy soul in an age harmonic chart. I don't even know what an age harmonic chart is, so I'm going to have to skip that question. Exo says hi. Stephanie King says lol. Exo says, is Rahu and Aslesha dangerous? Like Michael Jackson dangerous? Horyukinen. To stop scroll, just scroll a little up so that you're not at the bottom last post, and then it should stop auto-scrolling. All right, let's try that. Is there such a thing, XOS, as being spiritually protected in your birth chart? First ask the person what they mean by spiritually protected. Because it really makes a difference, because what you mean by spiritually protected, I need to know that. I'm not going to see your answer to it, so don't, go crazy on the keyboard right now. I'll see your answer later after I've answered 20 other questions, but kind of meaning having like a guardian angel or something. You'll just see like good luck, a lot of good luck. Stephanie, you don't know what I mean? Good luck means you'll escape dangers. So you may have a lot, as Jupiter might be prominent. A good, dignified Jupiter might be prominent, aspecting some other negative thing in the chart. Then you get an effect like having a guardian angel. Stephanie King asks, in evolutionary astrology, it is said that any planet, square the nodes, means skipped steps. I don't know what skipped steps mean. I guess skips in your evolution. Does Vedic astrology have such a stance and such a configuration? If something is square node, it means it's at the apex of the moon's altitude. You guys flock to the things where there's any questions you want to ask, so you can ask like very specific questions, and then you feel bored when it's time to talk about cosmology, or when it's time to talk about the planets, the rashis, the sun, because you want to do new things. But if you knew the basic stuff, you would already know all the fancy stuff. So if you know what the nodes are, they're the points where the moon intersects the sun's path. The moon's path intersects the sun's path. So to be square to a node means that you're 90 degrees between the intersections, means that you're at either the highest or the lowest apex of the moon's altitude, which is significant, especially if the moon is there. So for example, this guy's moon is in that configuration. Me, Victor, he is the moon 90 degrees after Rahu, before Ketu. So you cannot get further from the nodes when you're at that point. And it's specifically stabilizing, etc. It's good for planets to be halfway between the nodes, especially the moon. That's the take on it. What are your impressions on Mars, Ketu, and Saturn the 8th? I have a feeling that Kemetic asked that already. Guitars Cloud, where and how to find the guru, Vic? With your ears? What's a guru? It's like saying, how do I find my television? You watch your television. What is the guru? The guru is the information channel, the source of information. Maybe, how do you find a good guru with good ears? Why ears? Because that's where you take in your information. How do you find a guru? With your ears. You take the information source into your ears. How do you find a good guru? You have good ears. You have ears that listen well and can tell the difference between bullshit and cow manure. Between farming and faking. Between fertilizer and fox. And if your ears can't tell the difference, then you will not find a good guru. Because you can't tell the difference between a good information source and a bad one. But if you do good deeds, and you just try to do good deeds means doing things that benefit other people, then that will give you good ears soon. So ultimately, if your ears are not good, the best way to find a good guru is to do good deeds. Tanishta Nakshatra asks, how do I diminish the effect of the Sadesati? It's not your Sadesati. It's you're depressed or you're having troubles or something. And if you want to deal with that astrologically, figure out what exactly is causing it, indicating it astrologically, and then you can figure out what to do about it. Sade Sati is not a useful technique. Tyler Lee, how should we approach astrology ethically? With ethics, just have good ethics, and then I guess your approach to it will be good. Electromagnetic Universe asks, what would be the best interpretation of a major dasha of Jupiter in your chart if, for example, you have Jupiter in your first house as the lord of the sign of the first house? You're going to blow up. You're going to blow up. You're going to succeed. You're going to get great stuff. Everything's going to go your way. And if you are so small-minded that you just go away from that answer and say, yay, I'm going to grow up, then that's your own fault, not mine. Because there's all kinds of other things, like what subdasha is it, and what transits are going on, and what is affecting your Jupiter, that will modify that statement, but that is the answer to the question. Amy McCormick says, I'm Cancer ascendant. I have Nichbang Raj Yoga of Mars and Jupiter in Capricorn. Cool. See, this is an example of Nichbang Raj Yoga. The exalted planet modifies the debilitation of the one that it's with. What's the best way to find a decent partner? Oh, that is a difficult question for anybody, Amy. It doesn't make a difference if you have a Nichbang Raj Yoga in the 7th house or not. What kind of partner maybe is the true heart of your question. So it is Jupiter, right? This is my answer to your question. This is my free astrology reading. Your partner is a person who lost faith in ethics, philosophy, and religion. But as a result of being able to come up with their own non-dogmatic individual concept, or meeting somebody who's very individualist about that, has put the pieces back together. So what you want to meet is a person who actually is really motivated about philosophy, spirituality, religion, ethics, law, what's right, what's wrong. But they are very not into groupthink about that. They're very not into organized religion. They're very not into philosophical organizations or subscription to a particular philosophical school. Chinmoy Bhagwat asks, as a former brahmachari from ISKCON, would you advise a young person to join this organization? Me, being a former, I would not advise every young person is different. I would look at the young person. Everyone is an individual, but I would not expect to find many individuals who actually should move into a dysfunctional ashram at a young age in the modern world. Revati asks, what happens when the sun is in Leo and the moon is in Pisces? What happens when the sun is in Leo and the moon is in Pisces? The monsoon season, I think. I don't know. It's not a good question. I can't answer that question. I apologize, and I'm not trying to roast you or anything. My daughter said that yesterday to my mother. She said, I'm not trying to roast you, Grandma, but you have a big nose. That's our trademark of our family. My mom's side is a big nose. So I'm not trying to roast you guys. I'm just being undignified, but loving. This is what love looks like in an undignified way. Luisa Ribeiro says, hi Vic. Hi Luisa. I started watching the 1980s Mahabharata of B.R. Chopra, and it's amazing. Thanks for the recommendation. Thank you. Congo says Aquarius sun in the 12th house. Saturn in Aquarius in the 11th house. What? Don't ask questions to a person you don't trust. I know you don't trust me because you don't know what system I use. So figure out, ask. Yeah, you need to take life more seriously. Aquarius, I don't use this system at all. And you don't know that. That means you don't know that much about me. But you're asking me a question about yourself? Don't do that. That's like promiscuity. You don't want to let people into your heart that you don't know don't deserve to be there. That you don't know deserve to be there. Don't just go around asking questions about your astrology chart to anybody. Figure out if they are worth asking the question to. Sorry. Ames World. Any quick insight for Ketu Gandanta? For Ketu in the first house in Ashwini. Don't go into mass media or go into mass media. It's either going to be all on or all off. I don't know. You can't give. I can't guarantee or even find it going to be likely that that's going to be a meaningful statement because you just told me this one thing. Jonathan Bow asks, transits of the planets should also be read tropical. Why not? If the zodiac is tropical, then why would transits be any different? Is this fun for you? My undignified behavior? To be honest, it's slightly fun for me. Now I get to read this. Retrograde. Revolt? Follow the idea, not the organization. Organization of the person belief system ultimately. Okay, great. Revati, why do my tropical house placements feel less accurate than sidereal? Because you don't know how to read a chart. Or because you're just used to it and you already made sense out of it. Congo, Venus 12th house, bad or good? It's terrible. Jayesh, good to hear from you. Love from Mumbai, thank you. May I please have what are those called? Golgappa. Those are Mumbai's, right? Mumbai cuisine. I like Golgappa. Could you please guide how to study planetary wars? Planetary wars are when planets try to occupy the same space at the same time. So the basic rule is a planet that's higher wins. Do you know what higher means? I think you do. In case other people don't know, it doesn't mean they have more pot. It means that their altitude is higher, their declination is higher, their north-southness, their latitude, celestial latitude. There are exceptions. This is the general principle is that if you have higher ground, you win a fight because you crush the enemy from above. But it doesn't mean that in every battle that it was ever fought that the army that managed to get on the hill won, right? Similarly, in planetary war, the major principle is which one is higher, but there's other things. Which planet's got more strength? And which planet has higher Shadbala? So again, you need math. How do you factor the declination against the Shadbala? How naturally resilient is the planet? Like one thing about Venus is that she will not lose. Period. Because she can resurrect. So she won't lose. So Venus comes into the picture. It's going to be really difficult to defeat Venus. So those are how you deal with the planetary wars. Another question from Jayesh. Gati of planets from direct to retrograde and from retrograde to direct. The various types of gati. What's worse? Gati means gait or the way of walking. So the speed at which the planet moves is called gati. So basically, in natal charts, I have not extensively researched the effect of Gati in a snapshot like a natal chart. But even if you don't try to research the effects of Gati in a transit, you will realize the effects of Gati in a transit. Because it's extremely obvious that you will, that the planet which goes slow and slows down has more of an effect on the thing that it's aligning with. So, with Gati, there's some impact on Shadbala, and that's how it's used in the natal chart. But Gati is really important. Speed of the planet is really important with transits, where slower becomes stronger, more intense. If it's a good transit, then the slow is very desirable. If it's a bad transit, then slow is very painful. Pearl Ore asks if I believe in twin flames. Pearl Ore, like, how would somebody not believe in a twin flame? Especially when you can define it however you want. And why would I believe or not believe in it? I just don't really. Do I believe in a twin flame? There's people that you're really compatible with, and that could be your twin flame. Also your BFF and stuff like that, depending on whatever you want to call it. Rawinia says, I was given the time of birth between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. So he has a 3-hour window of when they were born. I narrowed it down to a Capricorn ascendant. Yeah, so you're doing brain surgery self-taught unless you're a practiced astrologer. The Navamsha is compromised. Can I do anything to uncover my time of birth? You should probably have a professional do it. You can also ask the hospital, or if that avenue is open to you of actual records, then take it. If that avenue is not open to you, then try to do other things. And then if you cannot read a chart accurately, then there's no way that you can do birth time rectification. But if you can read a chart accurately, then you can do birth time rectification, because you can tell which chart is more accurate than the other. And the way that you should do it is by the Navamshas and the Amshas. Sama M. How do I find my passions of what I'm enjoying doing using the birth chart? You just need more self-confidence. So I bet that you need more encouragement to your Mars, because you just need more self-confidence. Because passion is not something that anybody needs to tell you. Passion is passion. You just are not sure if you can trust your passion or not. And that I'm sure we could find in your birth chart. And the best thing to do about that is to just be encouraged to realize that passion is your passion and you feel passionate about it. And if you don't feel passionate about anything, you might have some condition like ADHD, etc. So then you might have to work on that. Like if your passions are constantly shifting, then it may not be a Mars issue, it may be Rahu, or some kind of dual, like way too many dual signs or something, or something with the moon, making the passion unsteady. But if the passion is unsteady like that, then it's never going to be steady. And you have to learn to enjoy your fluctuating passions. That's my advice for Sama. And the next question, at what time are we at? Oh, it's approaching an hour, and I think I'm going to cut it off pretty soon. Was this fun or what? I feel like I was way too rude to everybody. I apologize for that, but hopefully you liked it. Let's do a couple more questions. Pedro Joffrey, in Hellenistic astrology, there's absolutely no aspect to the 8th house. It's called aversion, like to the 6th, 12th, and 2nd. How this aspect showed up in the Vedic astrology? I see what you're saying. You're saying the Hellenistic astrology considers 2, 12, 6, and 8 to be invisible. In Vedic astrology, we consider 2, 12, and 6 to be invisible, but we have an aspect on 8. And so the question from Pedro is, why? I don't have an answer to you. I don't have an answer for that. It's just that it's 4 from 4. 8 is 4 from 4. So 4 and 8 are at 75% visibility. And for Mars, it's 4 and 8 are at 100% visibility. But I don't know how to explain why either Hellenistic astrology dropped it or Vedic astrology adopted it. You're taking the approach like it showed up in Vedic astrology. Maybe you could take the opposite approach, that why did they drop it from Hellenistic astrology? That's probably the better way to solve the question. Not because of my favoritism for India, which is real, but because the way that they go with Hellenistic astrology is towards geometry. They go away from individual aspect patterns and towards universal geometric patterns. And so that 8th house aspect would mess up the geometry. So probably they were the ones who dropped it. Okay. Tyler asks, how significant are lonely planets other than the moon? Not as significant as the moon, because the moon is dependent. It's emotional. It needs to share. It needs people nearby. Eon Jivan, I'm not sure if you chose to skip the question. I didn't skip a single question as far as I know. Or I didn't send it because I have internet problems. What do you think about Nakshatra Shakti? It's a way of explaining what nakshatras symbolize, and that's what it is. Clef Guai here asks, hi Vic, what are your insights on Saturn as Atmakaraka conjunct Uranus? Again, you don't know me. But hi, and thank you for participating, but you don't know me. I don't use Uranus. I don't use Gemini. Like, where is this coming from? Bro, Gemini and Uranus in the same question. So just, I don't know. Ask questions to people who you know. Don't ask questions to random people. This goes to the question of how do you find a good guru. You have to have good ears. You also have to have a good mouth, because the mouth stimulates the response to the ears. You just ask the question. So you don't just go asking questions to everybody whom you don't know. Assess the information source. This is the biggest problem with the world today from an intellectual's perspective. That nobody gives a damn about the quality of the information source. Everybody's opinion is valid. Everybody's opinion is not valid. I don't know jack about Diablo 4. How is my opinion about that game valid compared to somebody that has beat the whole game? Not everybody's opinion is valid. And if you have a question about a particular video game, then you better find somebody that knows that particular video game and knows the aspect of it that you're trying to figure out. Similarly, ask your questions about astrology to people that you know are good astrologers. That means that you must have investigated them. That means you must have known what systems they use. So if you don't know that I don't use Gemini and I don't use Uranus, then I know you didn't investigate me. So my best thing that I can do for you is to say what I just said. True nodes or mean nodes. You could use either ones, but I think the mean nodes were an attempt to figure out true nodes. So I use true nodes. John Cole is still trying to find out about the number 22. For example, the number 7, the planets. 12, the zodiac. 27 is 22 of something. Isn't 22... the number of dracons to the 8th house? It might be that. I don't know. Thank you, Shanti. Shanti. Some I can see. How should one study the yogas? The spiritual samurai. That's a name I have not heard in many. This Ben Kenobi line. That's a name I've not heard in many, whatever. How should one study the yogas? The question is too general. I don't know how to answer it. Do you mean how you should learn what the yogas are? Or the yogas are templates for teaching principles. That's how you should study them. Itzel, in my opinion, how much of our future is determined by destiny and how much is a result of our free will? I have actually a clear opinion about this. I'm going to type into Google free will Victor Cara, and the search result that comes up, the third search result, is from YouTube. And I'm going to go there right now, copy the link for you guys, and put it in this chat window and tell you, oh, I just did something bad, that's my opinion about it. ED, as you asked about the outer planets, I already explained that they're not a part of astronomy. Astrology, you can't see them in the sky. Kona, thank you. So this will be the last question. Wait. Oranova, you said in one of your answers, you just need more encouragement to your Mars. How can we encourage Mars? You encourage a person. Give a person confidence. Help them get confidence in themselves. BM in Leo. Kona says, a Vic, ascendant degree, right on Yogacara position of your nakshatra ascendant. And First Lord being in another Yogacara position of that nakshatra. Chitra ascendant with First Lord Jish, quick interpretation, please. There's not 22 days in a moon cycle. It's very cool. To have planets on Yogacara degrees is very cool. I can't give the interpretation there. Ascendant degree right on Yogacara position of the ascending nakshatra. So that nakshatra is going to be more dominant than you think by your other assessments. And the First Lord is on another yoga position. Another Yogacara position. Nakshatras have multiple Yogatars? Chitra ascendant with, I don't know. It looks like those nakshatras become really strong. I'm out. Let me tell you this. You guys like this kind of conversation, right? Give me 1 second. Don't go away yet. This kind of conversation is happening all the time over here on this. If you use this Discord app, then we got a really good one. Let me just make it not expire. And you will probably love this. I don't know if that's clickable. YouTube might demolish it. I demolish the link, but that's a pretty active Discord where people are doing this kind of discussion all the time. Thank you, everybody.